Okay, in this video we're checking out the Eachine E013 Plus. And this is like a sort of a getting started kit in FPV, and I'll talk more about the pros and cons of this and whether or not this is going to be for you if you are interested in getting into FPV. Stay tuned to the rest of the video. First, let me get all the box stuff out of the way. So you get the controller for the drone. You get this little adapter here for like a little FPV monitor that's going to go onto the controller if you want to use a monitor. This does come as a kit where you can get I think you can get the drone with a controller with 1 battery or 3 batteries, or you can also get the Eachine VR06 goggles in the bundle kit, and there's various prices for that. I think it's like about $45, something like that, for just the drone and the controller, and like $70 with the drone controller and the goggles. I'll talk about the pricing here some more as well. So in my particular kit, I got basically the drone with 3 batteries. So there's one already on the drone here, 2 extras. You get the controller and get some spare props, which you're going to need because I've already lost one. They do fly off. And you get a screwdriver, and you get a USB charger for those batteries, and you get an instruction manual. Just to go over the controller really quick. So it's not altitude like a lot of toy drones. It is a regular throttle here. You got your trims here, on-off switch here. It does use 4 AAA batteries, 2 over here, 2 over here. You'd have to take the screw out to take those covers off, and then you put the batteries in. Your buttons here on top, you have your mode switch here. So there's 3 modes. There's like self-level mode, sort of a self-level but with more angle, so you can go faster. So basically beginner, and then 2 beeps on this on this button here is going to be intermediate mode, and then 3 beeps with the 3rd mode is going to be the acro mode, where you can actually do flips. The R button here is for arming and also for turtle mode. So if you are flipped over, the instructions in the manual say hold the button down for 3 seconds. That's actually incorrect. If you just tap the button, it'll automatically just flip the drone over, and then you can just take off and fly. But you want to be careful that you're not caught on something where you could burn a motor out, so be careful of that. These buttons here, C and B, are for your bands and channels for the 5.8 gigahertz analog video transmitter. So on this one here is basically got your normal toy drone here with your brushed motors and propellers, and you got your flight controller and battery. But this one adds an analog 5.8 gigahertz FPV system. So you got your analog camera here, and then inside you have a video transmitter that sends the video signal out to your goggles or some sort of a monitor. You'll need that to receive the signal and see where you're flying this FPV. Basically, in a nutshell, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail in terms of like all the capabilities and all that here. For me, the bottom line is this is pretty toy grade in terms of the way it works. So essentially, if you want to look at this, you just have your normal traditional toy grade drone and toy grade controller, and they have just added on FPV camera and video transmitter. So a lot of these other type of toy drone videos I've done in the past, I've had basically slapped on like one of those all-in-one video transmitter cameras on here. So we would have your video camera plus video transmitter on top of the drone, and that's essentially what you're flying around in a toy drone format. Those cameras usually add about $10 to $15 to the cost of the drone. So, what they've done essentially here is they've done that, but integrated the controls of the changing of the bands and channels via these buttons here instead of using a button on standalone video transmitter. So they kind of integrated that feature into the toy drone. So really, the only thing that's hobby grade here is the analog FPV system. Everything else about this is basically toy grade. And also when I talk about the analog FPV system, it's going to be the camera, the video transmitter, and if you get the combo package with the goggles, that also is considered pseudo hobby grade. I mean, obviously Some people disagree that the VR06 is hobby grade, but yeah, it's essentially hobby grade goggles that you can use to fly FPV if you have a different type of hobby grade drone and transmitter. So the reason I'm not really recommending this in terms of someone trying to get into FPV is that this is not easy to fly, and I think I'll just show you some footage of me flying it around line of sight on my hat cam. It's got some very strange throttle resolution, and in the center of the throttle it seems to be quite unresponsive. I think it's just because of the nature of the toy grade transmitter here. It makes it difficult to fly, so if it's difficult to fly for someone who knows how to fly already, I think it's going to be pretty challenging for someone who doesn't know how to fly to figure this out. I think it's not going to be impossible, but I think it's just going to take a lot longer and probably add more frustration than I think that would be necessary for someone that's trying to get into FPV. I think that for someone that is looking to spend maybe a little bit more money and get a better experience, I would recommend getting the TInyhawk Ready to Fly kit. I did a video on that already a while back. It is basically a hobby grade drone. It does have a toy grade style transmitter, but the drone is tuned much better in that situation than this one, and it also comes with a hobby grade, actually much nicer hobby grade box goggles for your FPV system, and that one's going to run you about $150 to $160 depending on where you buy it at, but it's a much better experience, I think. And then you could take the TInyhawk and add, say, upgrade your transmitter and have a really nice hobby grade experience, moving from sort of like don't know how to fly pilot experience to intermediate. So like beginner to intermediate transition will be a lot simpler than getting something like this. I think that really the only reason you would get this is if you absolutely can't afford anything more than I think it's like $75 for this with the goggles. If you either don't have the money or are unwilling to spend any more than that to try out FPV, that would be the only reason to get this. Otherwise, like, the experience, in my opinion, isn't going to be really worth it for you. If you once you've sort of gotten past that beginner stage and you want to transition to something a little bit more intermediate, the TInyhawk is going to give you a much better experience. And instead of having to buy this and then buy something else right after that, you can pretty much transition very easily on the same drone from a beginner experience to a intermediate experience without that setup. And if you're going to be spending this money on here and then also another setup after this, you might end up actually spending more money in the long run than just spending the $150 on the TInyhawk and in the beginning. So that would be my recommendation if you want to get into FPV. Otherwise, this isn't really. I don't think this is really meant for. This particular setup here isn't going to be really good for most people that are trying to start out in FPV. That's just my opinion on that. I think you're going to find a lot of other videos out there that are going to probably disagree and try and sell this as a really good starter kit. But my opinion is I think this is a pass for me. And if you are thinking about getting some of this for your friend, as I said, check out the Emacs TInyhawk kit instead of this one. That one I would recommend over this one for sure. And I'll put links to all that stuff down in the description. You guys can check it out. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. And let me know if you guys have any questions about this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.